on Good Morning Worldwide. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play the pulse of an H. There are variables in this that could not come to fruition, such as the Israelis cooperating, even though should have influence there, as well as once the deal, even if it is signed Friday, the 60-day process of negotiating kind of the terms and details that do matter with the nuclear aspect of Iran and what they can and can't do. So definitely some pieces there, but certainly some better news. Markets are reacting positively this morning as they have before with the stops and the starts. Doug Tengden, World Market Advisors, on deck for that. Poll question up on X this morning at the Pulse of an H. J-Dog has to do with gas prices. You just heard in our news, gas prices are down, as are oil prices, and we may be peaking at about $4 a gallon for regular right now in the United States. The poll question is, do you think we'll get down close to $3 next month? Yes or no? That would be a welcome relief. J-Dog, results from our poll question at the Pulse of an H, brought to you by R&D Paving from Friday.
To you in a bit.
Oh, okay. But we have a beautiful day to start, sunshine-wise, beautiful temperatures out there, a little more comfortable. We're going to be, let's just say today, up into the upper 70s. Tomorrow, Wednesday, more of the same. Pretty darn nice-looking week as we get going. June 15th, by the way. Carolina Hurricanes, J-Dog, they get it done in the Stanley Cup. What was it, 3-0? They win it 4-2. And the Knicks, of course, doing it on the NBA side over the weekend. World Cup soccer continuing. We're going to get a live report this morning, top of the 10 o'clock hour, from one of the big fans over the weekend. I missed most all of it.
Oh, one of those big fans was quite active on social media this weekend regarding the World Cup, and it's It was a wild weekend for the World Cup, Jack. So Friday, it was, will you buy any stock in SpaceX today? That was the poll question on Friday. 66.7% saying no, 33.3% saying yes.
Yep, not surprising. That's about right. G7, if you know what that is, the meeting over in Europe today, allies getting together, including the United States and the American president, President Trump, on his way to France today. And by the way, our own White House correspondent, John Decker, was busy last night at the White House. He was at that. He sent me pictures, J-Dog. I haven't posted them, but he was covering as a credentialed media person. There's a picture of Decker at the UFC stuff and the arena. And, of course, yesterday, Flag Day as well, by the way. We should always remember that. Yesterday, the American Flag Day, and President Trump's 70th birthday. Now, it's interesting.
80th, not 70th.
I'm sorry, 80th. You know what, J-Dog? He would take 70, wouldn't he? 80. Sorry, J-Dog. 80. Big difference.
He'll take 40 at this point.
By the way, 80. Big difference. Thank you, Doug. Of course, he became, it's been a quick few years, but 80 years old, the president's birthday. But some of the different pictures yesterday, J-Dog, showing different, appearances of how many people were at the UFC stuff at the White House and in D.C., and they had all kinds of events last night for the president's 80th birthday, as well as, Flag Day and everything else, and the 250th coming up for the United States. But John Decker, according to John Decker, don't yell at me, don't jump up and down, please. John Decker, our White House correspondent who was there, said about 4,000 people, J-Dog, were actually at the UFC fights, about 4,000 people last night. All right, 80th birthday. Big difference. Huge difference, those 10 years. All right, Doug Tengden is going to weigh in on how the market's reacting. But again, we're going to hear from Dean Spiliotis, Southern New Hampshire University, one of our political experts, breaking down this agreement between the United States and the Iranian negotiators or powers to be in Iran. Both sides, unlike the past stuff, whoever is calling the shots in Iran came out, or it's actually, they call it the Iranian Security Council, verifying the same thing the president was saying. Of course, that's the first time we've seen that in a while, because whatever President Trump has said, it gets contradicted or shot down, no pun intended, believe me, by the Iranian Security Council or different people on the Iranian side. So this one seems to be a real tentative agreement, I guess is the best way to put it. But the variables I worry about, because we've seen this, ironically, are the Israeli piece. and with Hezbollah, and will they calm down and back down to both sides' satisfaction? And then even after, or when and if the agreement's signed in Geneva, Switzerland this Friday, and I hope it is actually, because I've been wanting this war to end for quite a while now, almost 2 months ago. But the nuclear program, the nuclear desires of the Iranian Authority, the Iranian folks, have to be negotiated. And the president has come out and said that the Iranian that Iran will not have a nuclear bomb, and we'll see if that's something that can be agreed to. I don't know if they're going to allow inspection programs or how many years, and then are there reparations or sanctions that are going to be released? So there are some devils in the detail to this thing being hammered out. But the president saying clearly on the nuclear ambition or nuclear weapon capability that Iran will not have that capability. So that has to be specified. And then, of course, Strait of Hormuz, if you're wondering, like I am, when that thing could be really cleared up and wide open without interference and, occasional drones or missiles or bombs or mines or surface, rocket shoulder type firing from small boats, messing up and clogging up and scaring the big tankers. I'm hearing, we're reading into this. It looks like Friday would be when the Strait of Hormuz would reopen, and the U.S. would. I guess this week we're going to start to lift that U.S. naval blockade especially of the Iranian ports along the way. All right, so that's a summary of that. Dean Spiliotis on deck. We're going to hear also from some of our other regular contributors this morning. Beautiful weekend overall. Some of these showers last night, overnight, just more rain than at least from what I'm aware. Some pretty good heavy downpours overnight. But today we're looking at temps in the upper 70s, sunshine, plenty of sunshine for the next few days. Temperatures comfortable as well. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. We'll be back with Dean in a moment.
Sunday to 3 on the Now, back to Jack on the Pulse of New Hampshire.
All right, we are back. Looking forward to broadcasting live, the home for veterans in New Hampshire with the VA in Manchester, Manchester VA this Thursday, June 18th. And it's all really about America's Freedom 250 Veteran Outreach Event, the outreach event this Thursday. We're going to be there live to help amplify and promote this and add to it, 9 to noon, right in front there in the Manchester VA. So if you're a veteran caregiver, please come down. Please check it out. And it's going to be really important. They're going to have a great team there for outreach. You can connect with them in between segments of our show. All kinds of folks are going to be there to help you navigate, to help you get a test to screen for toxic chemical exposures under the PACT Act. I mean, it's going to be a very important, good day for the outreach for America's 250. Manchester VA this Thursday, 9 to noon live this Thursday. I think we're coming to you live on YouTube as well today, J-Dog.
Yes,
Pulse
we
of
are.
an H. Dean Spiliotis, one of our political analysts and experts. I guess J-Dog wants me to officially be correct and say retired political science professor, Southern New Hampshire University. Good morning, Dean.
Hey, good morning, Jack.
You know what's great about your name? I've said it before. You can retire with the title of dean without even having to really get it from any of the universities you taught at.
Yeah, it's a nice honorific, and sometime when we have more time, I have all kinds of stories about people in my old academic world mistaking me for an academic dean rather than just dean.
Well, you kind of probably know what I do and read and studied a little bit on this, really an outline, not more than an outline. There's a lot of specificity, a memorandum, pretty detailed tentative agreement, ideally to be signed this Friday in Geneva, Switzerland with the U.S. The vice president would be there and the Iranian folks. Both sides are standing to this. There's no contradiction, but there's the week to go between today and Friday. Israel needs to behave. And then we would enter a period of 60 days to verify the nuclear pieces of this thing. But markets, and I guess, it's definitive good news that they're saying they've reached this agreement versus, I guess, bad news because I've wanted this thing to end for a while. But your take, Dean.
Yeah, it's certainly, as you said, it's certainly a good thing to have a general outline of an agreement. It's essentially an extension of the ceasefire for 60 days. Everyone agrees that we're going to end hostilities. There is this question mark about Israel and Lebanon. Iran wants Israel out of southern Lebanon. It doesn't sound like that's something Israel wants to do. So that's one potential question. I mean, the biggest issue here, as we often say, and you also mentioned that we've got this whole week before they sign the agreement. What's the spin game going to be like both with Iran and with the Trump administration, and is it going to be clear that they see this agreement in the same way? A couple of the outstanding issues are, one is, what exactly is going to be the nature of the nuclear inspection regime to assure that they won't develop a nuclear weapon? What's that going to look like? That has to be hammered out. Another issue is going to be what kind of financial benefit is Iran going to get from this? They want something like $12 billion in sanctioned frozen assets freed up immediately. The Trump administration says no, that's going to be earned for good behavior. And then there's also some discussion about will there be some kind of additional money to rebuild infrastructure, and some Republicans are not happy about that possibility. And then the final thing really is, if they open the Strait of Hormuz, is there going to be some point at which Iran attempts to monetize their newfound influence over the strait, and we're just not sure about that. So, I know it's a cliche to say the devil is in the details. Certainly would rather have them sign this than not sign it. But the next 60 days are really going to be critical.
Yeah, I do think this week, if things, because not everyone, there are different interests in the world, and not everyone wants this to end, believe it or not. Economically and otherwise, I think it, as I've been saying for almost more than 2 months now, it needs to. Hey, Dean, President, after, you can comment on the UFC stuff, his 80th birthday, Flag Day, all the stuff, the 250th, but 80th birthday UFC fight last night with their octagon, the stuff they made up there on the lawn of the White House. And John Decker was there, our White House correspondent. He said there was about 4,000 people in attendance. President's off to France, though. the G7. Talk a little bit about this. I'm sure the U.S. Iranian piece will be on the table, but there's going to be, I'm sure, talk about Ukraine, Russia, NATO. Take it away on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. We spent so much time with Iran, only talking about the United States, Israel, and the Iran and the Gulf states. Our European allies have been kind of quietly on the sidelines, saying they want this to be resolved. There are some huge economic issues revolving around things like artificial intelligence and getting kind of the energy markets back on track, and certainly Ukraine. In the time that we've kind of been focused on Iran, Ukraine has, according to some experts, really turned things around and is in a much better position in terms of the famous comment that they don't have any cards. Well, if you listen to Ukraine experts or Russian experts, it sounds like they have some cards now, particularly with their drone technology and sort of figuring out how to fund the war without as much American financial support. We'll see if all that changes in some way. If maybe President Trump assesses the situation as more favorable to Ukraine, he might have a different attitude about it. I don't know, but all of that is going to be up for discussion at the G7.
All right, Dean, enjoy your Monday. Dean Spiliotis. Thank you, Dean.
Sure thing, Jack. Thanks.
Well, the local elections, the table is set. We had a lot of the filings and some of the official stuff happening last week. Things will start to take shape. We'll kind of come back to that with some of our guests and analysts in a moment. We're also going to get an update on the economic side of things. How are markets reacting to this word of a tentative agreement with Iran to end this war or end hostilities immediately and get towards an agreement signed Friday in Geneva, Switzerland, if that holds. Some pieces, though, have to come together and stick together for this to happen. But our poll question up on X this morning at the Pulse of an H has to do with gas prices. I checked this morning before the show. The markets, the prices, and gas, according to AAA at the national level for regular price per gallon, just about $4, just a hair over $4, about $4. And our poll question up on X at the Pulse of H, do you think we'll get down to anywhere near $3 next month? Yes or no? Got to remember the thing about energy prices and taxes and interest rates. There's the trifecta. Energy prices, taxes, and interest rates. They go up quickly. They come down more slowly. They don't come down as quickly as they go up. They go up quickly. Yeah, energy prices, gas and oil prices, taxes, and interest rates. They go up quickly. They don't come down so quickly. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath on the board. Get an update from another one of our regular contributors. All this on the Pulse of an H on a beautiful Monday morning. Back in a moment.
107.7
Monday out there as we get going, and sunshine, comfortable. Going to be upper 70s today. Tomorrow, Wednesday's looking real nice. Plenty of sunshine. We'll take it. We'll take it. Reminder, Motorcycle Week underway. And over the weekend, I was out and about, did see quite a bit of bikes, motorcycles, all over the place. It's not just, people think of the Motorcycle Week as just Weirs Beach and Laconia. No. These bikers come from all over, really the world, in New England, the country, New Hampshire, Maine. And they go, I met some bikers over the weekend at a place we were stopping at Saturday afternoon. And a couple of them, it's about 6 of them. They were going from Conway, New Hampshire, exploring over to Bethel, Maine, and then back up to the Lakes region. So they're out and about. And just remember that when you are driving and out and about, as I shared with you, my own experiences Friday coming, where was I going? Oh, coming in to the studio, and just a couple of drivers in particular. I could have, I'll try and keep my any aggressions that are not healthy for you aside, but they were just driving like complete and total idiots. Individuals alone, it happened twice during my commute, right on your tail, nowhere to go. They're going crazy that they can't go around you. Then they dangerously do try to go around you, and they get behind a vehicle in front. They're just, I don't know what it is, but I do think there is some percentage among us who've just lost their marbles and minds. I do think so. Sad to say. Or they're foraging a kind of a mushroom that you should not ingest. Or it's a different kind of human rabies, but I'll tell you, it's crazy. As we get going this morning, a reminder, as I just said, if you're a veteran, please come by the Manchester VA Thursday morning, 9 to noon. We're going to be there live celebrating their big 250 outreach, the VA, all the good stuff happening. And they're going to have a lot of folks on staff there with us live right there. So if you're a veteran, you can go off to the side at a table and make an appointment, talk to a doctor, talk to folks. Very easy access. And that's part of the show. Thursday, Manchester VA, 9 to noon. Join me live Thursday. And it's the home of the veterans in New Hampshire. And be there with Kevin Forrest, the director. But he's got a great staff, and they're going to do screenings and set you up for screenings right there on Thursday without the red tape, without the bureaucratic headache at times for any toxic chemical exposure from your service. And they'll tell you how to go about that and remind you of the benefits of the PACT Act, P-A-C-T, the PACT Act, and make sure you're enrolled properly. Brief you on other services they're now providing and procedures. Manchester VA Thursday, part of the big VA's 250 outreach day. And that's a big part of my show being there. Looking forward to that. All right, Brad Card, one of our political analysts and all-stars on a beautiful Monday morning. Good morning, Mr. Brad.
How you doing, Jack?
Doing all right. We can talk about a couple of things today, but I guess one of them could be this agreement. And I'm curious, you talk to members of Congress, just kind of the reaction coming out of the weekend. There are some variables that have to hold together this week. And, both sides are saying it's real. It's detailed, of course. There's going to be a period of maybe they can sign it Friday in Geneva, but a 60-day review of the nuclear piece. And Israel has to behave, and with Lebanon, and that's another question. But Brad, your reaction, what's the reaction in Washington after the president's 80th birthday bash with the UFC last night?
Yeah, so there's a lot of skepticism about what this deal is, and we heard the president say that there's a deal and they're going to get the immediate withdrawal out of the Straits of Hormuz. It's going to be open to traffic immediately, and blah 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 blah. So that was a good thing, and markets are clearly reacting to that. But the devil is in the details, and also there's a lot of mines that have been placed in the Straits of Hormuz, so that's going to take time to get out. And I know the president wants help from some of the other G7 countries to get that straits cleared out. But then there's the question of whether or not this is going to include the termination of a nuclear program by Iran. And the president said that initially, But I guess lately has been silent on it and hasn't said anything about whether it includes a nuclear deal. So I think the devil's in the details. We have to see what's in this plan. I don't trust Iran to stick with any deal that they make,
Right.
first of all. And the question is this real? I guess that's one of the questions that people are asking. Is this actually a real deal? And what are we going to see? And he's talking about it being signed later in the week on Friday. I guess we'll have to wait and see what's actually in the deal.
I mean,
I'm skeptical.
Well, Brett, well, you're skeptical for good reason. I mean, there've been so many stops and starts, and the president saying this is going to wrap up soon, as early as the first month, and here we go. For 2 months, I've been saying I was hoping this would end sooner, take care of the nuclear piece, and move on. But what's different this time is the Iranian Security Council, the Iranian, whoever they powers to be. I guess today the Iranian, one of the officials went on whatever's left of Iranian state TV to verify that they've reached this agreement. They're not saying, like we've seen in the last few weeks, something completely different. But as you said, number one, we have to get through the week. I do think Israel's a wild card, even though we have incredible and should have big leverage over them to tell them what to do, quite frankly. And then the nuclear piece, even if they sign the deal Friday in Geneva, it's 60 days of negotiations, Brad. And what if the Iranians, don't agree on something that is key to us on the nuclear piece? G7, though, the president's also going there. The other thing, Brad, over the weekend, and I don't think they mean much, is I was reading one of these national polls that shows the President Trump standing in every single state, including the battleground states. And that picture hasn't changed much, in the past month or so. You've talked about it. Just looking at the mood of the midterms getting set, and let's assume this deal holds together. Let's assume it holds, and I hope it does. Let's assume it does, Brad. Average price of gas today is just over $4 a gallon. If prices start coming down and things, the Strait of Hormuz, stays open, and there's no increased threat from the Iranian folks on any nuclear bomb or whatever, and it looks like it might have been not a bad thing. Things calm down to the president's approval ratings in some of these states, because it might, will impact the midterms for Republicans running, because President Trump's not directly on a ballot. What are your thoughts?
Well, you didn't mention Israel in there either, though, Jack, and that's a wild card. I mean,
no,
President
I said
Trump
that in the
is
beginning.
This deal.
No, I said that in the beginning,
right.
That Israel's got to behave, and that's a big if. But we should have leverage to tell them that. But you're right.
Yeah, and I think we do have some leverage, but then again, the removal from Lebanon, I think, is a tall order in that. So there's a lot of variables. Let's just say that. So look, I hope it holds together. I think it needs to hold together, and the president has to find a way out of this war. I'd be surprised if Iran actually agreed to a full termination of their nuclear program. I can't believe that they would do that, but I guess we'll have to see. The devil's in the details. The president needs to have the end of this war, and members of Congress need him to do this, because the president is he's in the 30s in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
Nationally, he's about 42.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be about 46 or higher, probably, for Republicans to do well, to even hold the House and Senate. So he's got to get his approval rating up good 4 or 5 points. And, there's a lot of members that are concerned about it, and they're looking at the presidential approval numbers, and they're concerned. I mean, the president is making endorsements in Georgia. Now you have the president endorsed Collins down in Georgia when the governors endorsed Dooley. So you have a very popular governor in Georgia, and the president endorsing 2 different candidates for the United States Senate. The president made an endorsement in California's gubernatorial race with Steve Hilton, and the president is horribly unpopular in California. So I can't imagine that actually helping Hilton in California, other than maybe get him a little bit more money. But the president has to get this war over. so that gas prices can come down and the economy can start chugging along a little bit again. Hopefully inflation will come down, and it'll definitely help people like Dan Sullivan in Alaska, Susan Collins in Maine, John Husted in Ohio, and Mike Rogers, who's running in Michigan and actually has a chance to flip Democrat seat to Republican.
There's a lot of questions here, Brad. I just want to get to it quickly. You raised one is going to be if they sign the agreement Friday, and I hope they do in Geneva, do 6 or 7 out of 10 Americans view the Iranian war, if you will, worth it? That's going to be a question that will start to be asked over time. And the way they're going to view that is if prices come down dramatically here on the home front, on the energy side, if they start feeling a little more money in their pocketbook, they're probably going to be a little more open-minded to see what we accomplish. But if there are questions on the nuclear, Strait of Hormuz gets complicated, Israel doesn't get out of the parts of Lebanon that we are wanting them to, then I think there's ambiguity here. And I think that makes, the next several months or a few weeks subject. The only good news, despite the president's numbers, you look at the leaders of the Democratic Party nationally, and they're Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, and candidates like Graham Plattner in the state of Maine for the United States Senate. So that's sort of the good news for Republicans.
Yeah, there is good news for Republicans. And like I've said before, one thing that Republicans have going for them is Democrats, because Democrats are out of step with reality, in my opinion. And they've been pushing an agenda that's not going to be good for Americans. Is not going to help pricing. They have no problem digging further into debt for this country, and we have massive debts already. But then again, I look at the president is pushing. He's pushing Pfizer. I think we need a Pfizer extension. We have the World Cup coming in, and now the president's putting the Save America Act on the Pfizer bill, which is going to kill it.
Right.
I don't know why the president continues to do he does a good thing and takes a couple steps forward and then takes a couple steps backwards by just going too far and putting the Save America Act on the Pfizer bill is a non-starter for many people. Certainly not going to pass the Senate.
Well, real quick, last question for you, Brad Carter. Here's a very big thematic question from a presidential legacy point of view. Does President Trump, if things start to wind down for the better with the war in Iran, does he start to go more domestic? Does he start to really focus and talk? Because when he talks, he carries a lot of feedback and reaction from all sides. Does he focus more on the domestic stuff in the economy and lowering costs? Or does he start talking about Cuba? Does he start talking about Greenland again? See what I'm saying? Because he's gone off the more foreign policy around the world, Venezuela. We just got the leader of Trengala. That's a good thing. This guy was terrible, talk about, you can tell us who they are. He's done a lot of stuff. Does he focus more domestic, or does he say sort of, scattered foreign policy around the world?
It's a good question, Jack. And it's certainly a question that I'm sure, obviously America has real interest in this. And politically, nobody has probably more interest in it than J.D. Vance, right?
Right.
J.D. is
good point.
Has been an isolationist. I don't think it's crazy to say that. He is opposed to foreign intervention. And so given where J.D. is, and does it also send a message about Donald Trump, where he's going in the next presidential cycle?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right, good stuff. I know you did you enjoy the UFC fights last night?
I did, actually. It was a great night. Got to watch watch Stanley Cup be handed out. I'm not crazy about it going to Carolina, but congrats to them. And the fights were phenomenal. It was amazing, and it was a spectacle. Whether you agree with it or not, the fights were spectacular.
Yeah, and
it was a fun night of watching UFC. I actually enjoy the UFC. I watch it.
Yeah,
and it was a fun. There were some really great fights.
People used to tease J-Dog and me about our liking WWE and pro wrestling. You can't do that anymore. Just look at Congress. Talk about pro wrestling. All right, thanks, Brad.
There you go. We'll see you.
We get back. Gas prices, oil prices coming down. Doug Tengden, World Market Advisors. How is the reaction on the markets? Busy day Friday with the SpaceX IPO, and now word of an agreement with Iran to end this war, even with some contingencies, if they can get through the week and get it signed Friday in Geneva, Switzerland. Doug on deck next.
This is the Pulse. College Studios. Now back to Jack Heath on the Pulse of New Hampshire.
All right, Doug Tengden, World Market Advisors, worldmarketadvisors.com, joining us. And great, good opportunity, really. A snapshot here, June 15th, halfway through June, to look at the domestic economy. And, we can do the foreign policy thing and the political thing all day long on the Iranian agreement or deal to get a definitive agreement is hopefully this Friday in Geneva, Switzerland. There are variables. We have to get through the week and a few other questions, but markets are liking the fact that we came out of the weekend. And unlike previous times, even the Iranian security folks are saying that we've reached an agreement that we are working to sign. They're not disagreeing. So markets are probably liking this. Doug, good morning.
Good morning, Jack. Yeah, the markets are loving this. The oil prices are down to about 5%. Stocks are up about between 1% and 2%. The interest rates are down slightly. So yeah, the markets are very enthusiastic about the fact that the Straits of Hormuz may open up.
Well, it has to hold, of course, because if it goes sideways, then we're back to square one. But the energy prices are a big part of this most recent inflationary pinch on most people, and that's oil, that's gas. And if things hold, They don't seem to come down. And I said this earlier. I don't know if you agree. Energy, taxes, and interest rates have one thing in common: they go up quickly. They don't come down as quickly.
Up like a rocket, down like a feather. Yeah, your local gas station does have to get the old gas out. They paid for that gas at a higher rate, and they have to get that out without losing money on it. That their margins are super thin. So that's a big part of it. But you say taxes never go down. Boy, that's you could say that again. Except Chris Sununu managed to take away the interest and dividends tax over the course of the last few years. So that's a positive one.
Interesting. What else are you observing? I know you bought a bunch of SpaceX stock Friday.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me about SpaceX. You have to distinguish between investing and trading. And SpaceX may well be a profitable trade, but that's not the way I invest. I have to look at things long term. And long term, who knows what SpaceX is going to do? Certainly, it's got some very optimistic numbers out there. From my perspective, the numbers are a little bit too optimistic, and I'd be much more comfortable if the price were about 30% lower.
Oh no, I know it's definitely a lot of hype, and they're not profitable. A lot of hype. All right, Doug, anything else catching your eye this morning on this Monday? Here we are. What are you looking at? What are you feeling, sensing?
Well, we've got Wednesday. We've got the Fed. We've got Kevin Warsh with his first press conference, and I'll be watching that. This Iran deal does take a little bit of pressure off of him. There was some discussion as to whether they would switch to a tightening bias, and they still might. But he's going to argue within the board, and I think with some reason that they should consider looking through this, because here we've got the Iran deal sort of on the docket, and if that happens and oil prices drop dramatically, well, then we don't have the same kind of inflationary pressures. So I think.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? That they hold them where they are? Or they look at lowering?
Yeah, well, they would hold them where they are. They were considering shifting to a tightening bias, and a lot of the Fed governors.
But that means a slight, like a 0.25% raise.
Yeah. Okay. And the thing is, they never go part way. There's never only one cockroach. They never move just once and then stay. They dropped rates 3 times last year, and then they sat on hold. And Warsh wants to drop them again. And I think he's got an argument to do so, and he's going to focus on labor market weakness. So far, the economy's been incredibly resilient, and it's just powered through. We had Liberation Day. We powered through. We had a war. We powered through. We had a war with Russia and Ukraine. We powered through. The economy has just powered through all these things. So the other governors are saying, yeah, we've powered through, and we've had inflation above our target for a long time now. Shouldn't we do something? I think Warsh is going to say we raise rates, and that just hurts the people who are the most vulnerable. It won't slow down the capital spending on data centers and whatnot.
Yeah, interesting. All right, Doug, on a Monday. Thank you, Doug.
Jack, you have a great week.
I appreciate it. Well, we'll see where it goes. I mean, we've heard from our friends at Bank of America, one of our great partners and sponsors in the Bank of America Institute. They're economists that things, even with the higher gas and energy prices built in, that Americans have been more resilient to even the 4+, well over $4 a gallon, the increase that happened with the war in Iran. But then again, I heard this morning that RV, not a big surprise, recreational vehicles, RV sales are down because of the higher gas and energy prices. I don't think we see, a big downturn in our summer tourism here. We are a hospitality state and region. I know the price of lobster rolls is probably going to go up to near $50 more for lobster roll. But motorcycle week underway yesterday and all week. And I saw a lot of motorcycle guests in the state. And of course, they're a little more efficient when they put some gas in their smaller tanks for their bikes. But I think, I was some of the ski areas that convert in the summer to the gondola and the lift rides and the water park stuff to get people in. I went by a few of those this weekend, and the parking lots were pretty full. A great way to recreate, get the kids out to do, a lift ride or they have a lot of fun games now as they try to monetize our ski areas for the summer. Saw a lot of people up north of Franconia Notch this weekend where I was, just kind of getting out and about. at the hiking trails, which means they are supporting and going to the local, whether it's restaurants or stores or the local stores to get stuff. The hotels seem to be pretty full. And I don't know about you, but if you haven't stayed in a hotel recently, there's really no cheap hotel anymore. So I think people are doing their thing, whether it's more of a local regional type summer vacation, but people are, I guess they have been more resilient, but certainly I think in May last month, you really felt the pinch. And the other thing that no one's talking about, we're going to start to see the price of groceries come down. Oh my goodness, the price of food, the price of food is outrageous right now, expensive. I don't know about you, but I mean, I have to go basically get the basics today, and good luck if you feel like a piece of steak to cook at home. Oh my goodness, or everything's expensive in the grocery store right now. So, believe me, higher energy prices directly affect that. Everything from refrigeration and freezing and trucking and delivery and all that stuff is fuel driven. And I've talked to a lot of people that are paying, talked to a manufacturer in New Hampshire that the diesel spike and the diesel costs after about 40 days in a row really cut into their bottom line, and they're watching the dollars more tightly than they normally would be going into June because of the high price of diesel. So we'll see where it all goes. All right. Coming up, got a busy show for you. We are going to hear from a World Cup soccer enthusiast who disagrees with me, who thinks it's going to be a wonderful success here in America with a lot of people going to the games despite the high price of tickets and parking and beverages and a T-shirt to say you went to World Cup soccer. I guess last night at Fenway, they had a lot of the Scottish soccer fans there in a very good mood. Let's just say I can't understand a word they're saying, but they had some fun last night at Fenway. But we'll hear from Alicia Preston-Xanthopoulos. We're going to hear from Rory O'Neill, our 24/7 news guest. We got a lot more. Tom Raffio has some good news on a Monday. So we are locked and loaded on a beautiful Monday. More of the same tomorrow. Sunshine and temps in the mid to upper 70s the next few days. Enjoy it. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Back with the 10 o'clock hour in a moment.